Hello everyone, my name is Reed and welcome to Storytime. Today we're going to be reading some malicious compliance stories, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. You thieves, you now own our entire business. It's at a very large company which uses a lot of specialist software. It turns out that when you need to design temporary works, e.g. road diversions, temporary lights and signs, do soil structural analysis, model pressure in a gas pipe network, there's not a lot of software out there for you. Vendors tend to be small, and we're very big, so they tend to feel intimidated and very jealous, so they hand over cash to companies like Gemstar, who make FlexNet, a license enforcement system. Autodesk is on the pie too. There are others, but generally variations on the Sentinel keys. So we buy a pool of 10 licenses and 10 people can use it at the same time. Usually the licenses are digital, but very often they're a crude USB dongle and we have to install it on a physical server. We hate these and our policy is not to purchase software which uses them if we have any choice at all. This licensing system was a less common one, but used a USB dongle which had to be plugged into a server and didn't like being passed through to a virtual machine. So we installed a licensed server software, plugged in the USB stick, and happily used the software for a few years. Then we have a bit of an argument with our colocation provider and decide to move our racks somewhere else. This trips the software's DRM. We're thieves, pirates. The license server dutifully disables network on our server to prevent our stolen licenses from being used. This is the real malicious compliance. It maliciously complied with its instructions and harmed us when it had no right to do so. It took down every piece of licensed software which used the licensed server, every last bit, because it took down the actual server. We called the vendor, explained the situation, explained the impact and the damage and how it was not acceptable. They brushed us off. They don't support moving servers around. Not their problem. Shouldn't move a licensed server. We present an ultimatum. They fix it within 24 hours or we will take action. They stall, they dither, they don't answer the phone. Most likely they're taking legal advice and don't like what they're being told. Our group counsel advises us that we've got it cut and dry. Were I on the other side, I would be screaming at my board of directors to settle with the biggest offer they can afford, despite clear negligence. This is both deliberate and about as cut and dry in case under the Computer Misuse Act I've ever seen. They say the EULA forces arbitration. We think a court has to find that it does, and their EULA doesn't cover deliberate sabotage. They've breached our terms of purchase anyway, and our support contract, so we have the bigger case there. Also, if that's the game they're playing, it'll be arbitrators of our choosing, not theirs. We know as well as they do that arbitrators side with the employers pretty much all the time. They offer us a £700,000 goodwill payment to agree not to sue. We counter with £2,750,000. They say that's not realistic. We take action in the county courts. Our losses were estimated in the low millions. Their company's entire turnover for 2009 was £1.2 million. It goes to a higher court. They argue that piracy is a huge problem in their industry. We present representatives from the Federation Against Copyright Theft, a vile den of crooks and thieves if you ever saw one, who testified that in our industry, copyright infringement and license non-conformance isn't really a problem if it even exists at all. It's both inadvertent and tiny. We usually find they're over-licensed, not under-licensed. We produce evidence of our license status. We discover from their internal emails that they want to grab them, us, by the balls and never let go, and after we moved the server, some internal correspondence said the LM, license manager, vendor says we shouldn't have done it like that and we probably can't undo it. The court almost immediately found in our favor and we were awarded £2,400,000 in damages due to lost earnings and business disruption. They didn't have that kind of money and couldn't present a payment plan which left them a viable business, so a court-appointed liquidator was assigned to dissolve the company. We just about took every asset they had, including the software designs, source code, rights, and all associated property. We even renovated one of our offices with furniture from theirs. It became a small revenue stream for us, but we didn't much care for selling software to our competitors and handling support, so we spanned the company off after a few years when the developers, we hired 2 of their devs, assigned to it made the case. It's still one of our subsidiaries, but ran independently to satisfy monopoly commission rules. The vendor had an obsession with imagined adversaries who, of course, took on any godlike ability the imagination allows, a cycle of internal paranoia which merely fed itself and ultimately destroyed the company. That story was a bit hard to read, but we got through it, and it looks like OP's company was able to deliver the justice that the other company deserved for what sounded like royally screwing them over. Customer needs a male supervisor. That's M for Mike. I work for an energy company in the UK in their website support team, and my lovely female colleague came to me as her customer had asked to speak to a man. She had a proper nasty guy on the phone who wouldn't let her speak, you know the one. She started to reply and it set him off again. The only thing was she was the nicest and most helpful person there and would go the extra mile, always getting positive feedback from customers and being told to speed up by management, the usual dichotomy of call center work. Seems she didn't know crap about his problem and she should go and get a man, as she knew of my other career path, in the week a mild-mannered call center worker, weekends a sarcastic nightclub bouncer. She asked me to talk to them. She explained the problem was he couldn't see all his accounts on his online account. He'd left as a customer and come back and had a new profile set up instead of having his new account set up on his old profile. She patiently explained this to me as I would usually just bang the mouse to get things to work. The problem was that his name was spelled differently on the other profile, and due to data protection, she needed to confirm his details again. He didn't want to, as she had the account number and he'd already done that. Picked the headset up, introduced myself, and he explained how that girl couldn't do a simple task. I said I'd try, so proceeded to bang the mouse and he asked me if everything was alright. Not really, sir. Hold on a minute. Turned to my colleague, didn't mute the call or put him on hold, and asked her to explain what I needed to do 4 times, slowly. I may have overemphasized my lack of comprehension. Hello, sir. I found the problem. We have 2 profiles for you and there's been a typo, so I need to confirm your details again. So on profile 1, it's spelt, name has been changed for comedic effect, A for Alpha, R for Romeo, S for Sierra, E for Echo, and so on and so on. Can you confirm that is how your name is spelt? He did. So on profile 2, your name is spelt A for Alpha, R for Romeo, S for Sierra, E for Echo, H for Hotel, O for Oscar, L for Lima, L for Lima, E for Echo. Should there only be 1 L in that surname? Yes, it should, he confirmed. Okay, so I just need to check all the details match. You're addressed 1 Frequent Lane spelled F for Foxtrot, U for Uniform, ... Every single detail on each profile was spelled out for him phonetically, and he started to huff and puff about, "Can't you hurry this up?" I could pass you back to that girl, sir, but you specifically asked to speak to a male supervisor, and I'm working as fast as I am able to considering the situation. Just pass me back to her then. My work there was done. OP could have played hardball a little bit more. Just pass me back to her. No, sorry, sir, you said I couldn't do that, so let's continue on going as slow as possible. Okay, sir? You can't have facial hair growing from past your lips. Okay, then. So this isn't my story, but my father's. My dad is now a retired police officer, which he did for 30 years. Over the years, he has worked patrol, undercover, as a detective, and as part of a DEA task force back in the 90s. About 5 years ago, he transferred to the local sheriff's department and once again returned to being a regular patrol officer. If you don't know or live outside the US, sheriffs are elected as a part of local elections. During the 2018 election, our local sheriff had reached the maximum terms he could serve, leading to an open election. The one who ended up winning was a person my dad was not the biggest fan of. Prior to his election, officers could have a mustache and goatee as long as it was well kept and not too long. But one of the first things that were changed was the facial hair policy. The new policy said that facial hair could not be grown past the edge of your lips, but it forgot one piece of the original policy that was important: the length. So here's what my dad did to make his new boss mad. He started growing a handlebar mustache. It didn't grow past his lips, but it was long enough that he could shape it with beard wax into a handlebar that was frankly huge. The ends reached to his ears when he didn't put wax in it. Well, this policy change didn't just change my dad. Many of the officers had goatees and were already a bit annoyed with the new boss. So about another 10 officers decided to join my dad in growing out handlebar mustaches as well. In a department of 25 officers, almost half were rocking handlebar stashes while going on patrol. Eventually, the new sheriff decided that the handlebar mustaches were getting out of hand and finally relented and reinstated the old policy. My dad had grown this out for about 2 months, and I watched him quite literally cry when he shaved it. But he got his favorite facial hair to be allowed again, so it's all good. I would absolutely love to see a group photo of these officers rocking those handlebar stashes, man. That's awesome. My dad was forced to come to work while sick and gave his entire department the flu. My dad has been working for the same company for about 30 plus years now. My dad is extremely smart. I don't say that lightly. When he was 3 years old, yes, 3 years old, he rewired my grandmother's toaster oven when it broke. He graduated high school early and has always excelled in mathematics, physics, and most tech-related areas. My dad began working for Company X after finishing his associate's degree. He was taking some time off before going back to school as he and my mom had just got married and he needed money. So my dad began working in Company X's printing press room as he did not have the academic credentials to apply for the job he really wanted at the time. This company printed everything from books to magazines, newspapers, and the like. According to my dad, he actually really enjoyed working in the press room. It was a lot of manual labor and he was stuck on second shift, but he really liked his coworkers and he enjoyed learning about the machines they used, as well as how to run and repair them. My dad has a great work ethic. He always works hard, as did most of his coworkers. Apparently, the management at the time was kind of crappy. My dad had been working at the job for several months when he got the flu. He was informed by a coworker that while they were able to call out sick, it would count against them when it was time for reviews. It was clearly an unfair and ridiculous rule. So my dad came into work the next day with a fever and nausea. He carried around a trash can with him for most of the day. It was a long and brutal shift and he was thrilled to finally leave. By the time he left, everyone on second shift had been exposed to the flu, as well as everyone coming in for the third shift. The company ended up having to shut down the printing press for almost a whole week because nearly every press room worker was sick with the flu. While I'm not sure my dad had planned such a glorious outcome, he was very smug telling me the story and said he would do it all again. My dad went back to school and finished his degree and got a job much higher in the company and now has quite a few people working beneath him. He never gives his employees a hard time about taking sick days. You would think after having an outbreak at work that this company would maybe change their policies up a little bit. Maybe they did and OP just didn't mention it, but ouch, that has to hurt having everyone gone for so long. Alright, that's all the stories we have for today. If you liked what you heard, make sure to subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day. Goodbye.